What's up, guys? You're listening to another episode of Selling on Amazon with Andy Isom. Where should you focus your time if you don't have a big team to help you with your Amazon business? As Amazon continues to get more and more complex, it can seem more and more overwhelming to try to execute this business model, especially if you're working alone. Or maybe it's just you and a friend, or you and a spouse, or you and a sibling. So maybe it's just, let's call it two people working on your business. Where should you focus your time if you don't have a big team helping you? You're not working with an agency, you don't have employees, Fortune 500 retail company. How do you prioritize where to spend your time? So for this episode, I really do want to focus on those of you who have already launched your products. So if you're already up and selling on Amazon, this applies to you. If you're not up and selling yet on Amazon, I still think this is going to be interesting and applicable to you, especially again in the future when you do have your products launched. The beginning part of starting your Amazon journey is almost like preparing to have your first kid. For those of you out there that are parents, you go through a 9-month pregnancy and there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of buildup, there's a lot of anticipation for, having a baby, especially if it's your first baby, but you don't really know what to expect. Like, you don't really know what parenthood is going to be like until you actually have the baby. Here's the thing. You can read books all day long about parenting and, how to put the baby to bed and 5 tips to rock your baby to sleep. Like, you can read all that stuff all day long. But those of you who have kids, once the baby's there, all that stuff kind of goes out the window and you just figure it out. Instincts take over. You just really try to connect with your child and how they react. And you just try stuff, right? You try it and you learn and you figure it out as you go. But again, that 9-month pregnancy leading up to the birth of your child is kind of like the 9-month period of getting your product ready to launch on Amazon. So you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to sell? You're doing your research, you're talking to suppliers, getting samples. You have the exciting moment where you place your big order. And if you guys know me who listen to the podcast, I like analogies. And so I'd be like, okay, I'm buying my crib. It's nesting, right? I'm buying my crib. I'm getting my car seat. And so you're kind of getting excited. And there's that anticipation of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a parent, I'm going to be a dad, or I'm going to be a mom. And then, there's that huge moment, right? When the baby comes, the actual birth, super exciting. Now, I definitely think the birth of your first child is way more exciting than getting your first sale on Amazon. But getting that first sale on Amazon is kind of like that big relief moment. Similar to having a baby. You kind of have that big relief moment of the baby's here, right? Assuming, God willing, that everything has gone well. But then after that, it's kind of like, oh, well, now what do I do? Right? Or I remember when we were getting ready to leave the hospital, it's like, wait, we have to go home? We can't just live here forever? Because, you got nurses coming in to help you. And same sort of thing again with Amazon. It's like, okay, now what? I got my first sale, or maybe you had 2 sales or something. And it's like, okay, now what do I do with my time? Because you were so used to the preparation. You were so used to communicating with suppliers and you figured that whole thing out. But now it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to try to figure out how to actually sell all the stuff that I ordered and do it profitably and keep this train rolling so I can grow my business. Again, in the same way that, you have a kid and you take your kid home and you both walk inside and look at each other and you're like, okay, now what do we do? And then you kind of just figure it out, right? So again, because when you get home, you might have a parent that maybe comes to help. If you're really lucky, right? Your mother-in-law or someone is around to kind of help out during those early stages. But I think for a lot of us, it's just you. It's just you and your partner, you and your husband or wife, right? You're just trying to figure this thing out together. So with your Amazon business, similar sort of thing. It might just be you. It might be you and your partner, spouse, whoever, business partner. And you're like, okay, what do we do next? Where do we prioritize our time? There's so many different things you can do with your Amazon business. And I feel like every week on my weekly Q&A call with my students, I'm always talking about a new thing that's come out with Amazon, a new feature or a new strategy. And so it's okay, one week we're talking about using Instagram influencers, and we're talking about TikTok Shop. And then we're talking about brand tailored promotions on Amazon and looking at brand analytics and setting up all the different PPC campaigns and doing shoppable videos and enhanced branding and do your brand story. And it's there's always something new to do. There's always something new to do. But the problem is there's not always someone new to do it. It's just you, right? So you got to think, okay, I only have so much time in the day, especially most people, most of my listeners, most of my students, like this is not their full-time gig yet, right? Most people don't quit their corporate jobs and start a business and then like pray that it replaces their full-time income. That's not a very smart thing to do, especially with this business, because it can take a little bit to get to that profitability. So you might only have an hour a day. You might have kids, right? You might have responsibilities, baseball games and things to be at. So it's like, I got 30 minutes a day, I got an hour a day, what should I do? Here is my best advice for this. I know this was a very long-winded 6-minute or so intro into getting to the meat of the episode, but to kind of lay the foundation, do what is bringing the most success, okay? Similar to, let's go back to the baby thing, because I'm on the baby train right now. When you bring your newborn baby home, they cry, right? At some point, the baby's gonna start crying, okay? And so as a new parent, and I'm literally just going through flashbacks of Ryan, our firstborn, when he would start crying at home, it's like, okay, why is he crying? It's probably one of, the 3 main things where he pooped, he's hungry, or he's sleepy, right? So you just try, you check. If there's no poop, you're like, okay, it's not poop. And if you just barely fed him, it's probably not because he's hungry. He might be gassy. That's maybe like the 4th one that goes along with, let's say, eating/gassy. Or then there's the tired. It's like, okay, when was the last time you slept? Okay. So you're just going through and you're assessing, what is causing this baby to cry? And then what do? You just try stuff. You just try stuff, and whatever yields the best results, you do that again and again and again, right? As a parent. So for example, like if your baby has just eaten and your baby's super gassy, you got to figure out how to get the farts out of the baby, right? Or they don't stop crying. So you'll try stuff. You'll try different moves. You'll try like patting them on the back, right? You hold them on your shoulder and pat them on the back and see if you can get them to burp. Or you'll try the like football hold where you like pat them on the back and get them to burp. Or you try, the head and the hand trick, like forward and get them, like bounce, like you do the rocking, you walk, like there's all the different tactics, right? And here's the thing, and we can relate this to our Amazon business. A lot of those tactics for getting your baby to burp work, right? So similarly with Amazon or e-commerce in general, right? You're trying to sell more of your product. So that could be like posting on Instagram, posting on TikTok, working with influencers, reaching out to influencers, setting up ads, being more diligent with your advertising, split testing images. Like there's all these different things. Guess what? They all work. They all give more sales. They can all make the baby stop burping, right? But here's the thing. You find the one that works for you and you double and triple down on that. So if you're the type, like you're holding your baby, right? And you're trying all these different things. You're doing the baby on the shoulder and you're tapping their back and like they won't burp and they're freaking out. So then you go into the football hold and you start bouncing them and you tap them on the back and they still won't burp. For us guys, this was for our baby. Now, if you're someone out there who's having their first baby or you're trying to deal with this, for us, it was a yoga ball. So Tay had a big yoga ball that she would bounce on. And I'm not kidding. That thing is magical. It's been magical for both of our kids where we just hold Ryan or Logan straight up and then just literally sit on I'm like bouncing right now on video if you're watching on YouTube. And you bounce up and down on the yoga ball. I'm not kidding. 5-10 bounces, burp, done crying. Happy as a clam. So for us, once we figured that out for our kids and we realized one, the yoga ball was super easy for us because one, I could sit down. So that makes it more comfortable. It was easy for us and it worked. Anytime our kids are like fussy from gas, straight to the yoga ball because it works like a charm for them. Versus again, other people, maybe the yoga ball isn't really a thing. Maybe you don't have a yoga ball or, maybe it doesn't work for your kid. You test and you try and you figure out what works for your kid. And then you just keep doing that. It would be asinine, if I can say that, to figure out what works for your kid and then like decide to just do something else. So like if the yoga ball makes the baby burp, why on earth the next time the baby needs to burp, would you like try something else? It's like you already know what works, just do more of what works. So again, when it comes to your Amazon business, when you're just getting launched and you're figuring out, where should I spend my time? Should I post on Instagram or should I post on TikTok or should I post on both? What kind of videos, content, photos? Should I be spending more time creating my own content or should I be spending more time reaching out to influencers to create content for me? Should I be spending more time on keyword ads in PPC or auto campaigns in PPC? Should I, there's all these different places. Where should I be spending more time? Well, here's the thing. In the beginning, you kind of got to try, right? You kind of just got to figure it out. So that's, in the first parts of the biz, try stuff. Post on Instagram for a month, post on TikTok for a month, Try all the different campaigns, test them. And then what do? You double down on what's working. You double down on what's working. I tell my students this all the time, especially with PPC. They'll set up all the different campaign types, keyword, auto, product, display, all the different runs type, right? And then they test and let them run. Maybe keyword campaigns do really, really well for this specific student. And the other ones, it's like, not doing so well. And then they're like, well, should I spend more money? It's like, if they're not doing well and they're not, like, why? Like, why? Have you given them enough runway to test? Sure. Okay. Then don't waste time with it. Double down on what's working. Create more keyword campaigns. Separate them out. Do more keyword families. Like, do more in-depth analysis, strategy, placement adjustments, whatever it is, negative keywords for your keyword campaigns, and really, really double down on that. Same thing on the content side. If you're like promoting, you're like, hey, well, I'm getting a lot of, influencers that are really interested in posting about my product, and a lot of them are sharing it. Then why would you waste time making your own content when you could get a much better ROI spending all of that time that you have for content, finding more influencers? If influencers is the game for your product and that's what's working, you're like, oh my gosh, like people love posting about my thing and I'm getting sales from it. And then when you post on Instagram because you suck at making videos, you get 5 views and no sales. Again, it would be, what's the word that Einstein uses? Insanity to keep doing that. Double down on what works. Again, the whole point of this episode, guys, is like, where should you focus your time when you don't have a big team? Now, if you have a big team, and when I say big team, it doesn't mean like, oh, you have to have like 10 employees. I'm just saying like, if you have someone to outsource that to, great, then do all of it. Like if you're outsourcing your PPC and SEO to an agency, they can do all of that stuff. Great. But again, if it's just you have to focus. Maybe you only have 15 minutes a day to look at your PPC. So if you have a billion campaigns of all these different types, it's like, you're not going to have time to optimize them efficiently. Spend the time on where it's working. Okay. So just think about that as you get your brand launched and you start testing. Again, in the early stages, you're going to have to test in the same way that like you got to figure out what makes your baby burp. You got to figure out how your baby likes to eat, when they like to sleep, how to put them to sleep. But after you figure out what works, just stick to what works for you and quit trying to do everything. Stop trying to do everything. This is one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I am super guilty of this. My wife is probably listening through my door right now, or she spies on me on my Ring camera sometimes. I'm really guilty of this where I get grass is greener syndrome or shiny object syndrome where I'm like, okay, maybe it's this strategy that works better for me, or maybe it's this business. I'm in the wrong, I should be doing this business or this business. And it's like, you're trying to do so many different things that you don't really do any of them super well. So just figure out what you like doing, what works for you, what you're good at, what brings results, and then just do a lot of that. If you absolutely hate making videos, don't make videos. It doesn't matter how much I say short form content, TikToks, like it crushes it, do it. If that is a absolute pain for you and you're terrible at it, don't do it, because there's probably better ways that you could spend your time, your skill set, your interest that's going to get you better results. Because you going and posting crap videos, once a week that take you 10 hours to make, that's not going to bring you results. But if you're like really analytical, numbers driven, and you spend 10 hours a week on your PPC, that's going to bring you way better results probably. Have some self-awareness, test and try things, but just double down on what's working for your business and stop trying to do everything. Now, to wrap up the episode, one of my best pieces of advice best pieces of advice that I've gotten when it comes to like managing yourself, managing an online business is figure out what works, right? Do it yourself. And once you've built a system for it, outsource it. If a system is working, it's replicatable, and you don't need to necessarily be the one that's doing it, outsource it. That's how you're able to venture off into other things. Because here's the thing too, it's like there may be 4 or 5 different strategies for growing your business that work really well, that you enjoy doing, that are like checking all these boxes. We're like, well, Andy, I like posting content. I'm good at it. I'm good at PPC and all these things. Like I want to do it. It works. It gets results, but like I still don't have time to do all 5 of these things. Okay, focus on one, build a system for it, show that it's getting you good results. Like, okay, this is a good ROI for me, then outsource it. Then go find someone to do that part for you. And here's the thing, if you're hiring someone or finding your own VA, right, to do it for you, you've already done it. You can teach them how to do it. Now, if it is a part that's like, it's your like, I know that brings me results, but I hate doing it or I'm not good at it, maybe content, maybe PC, whatever it is, then you can outsource it to someone who likes doing that, who's good at doing that, right? The more you're able to do that, the more your business is gonna grow. Like that's just the bottom line. But again, I don't want you to be overwhelmed in the early stages thinking you have to do everything from the get-go. Slowly but surely, double down on what's working as you build, as you get some revenue, as you get some profit, reinvest that profit into more growth. Reinvest that into whether it's, more marketing, more SKUs, more team members, whatever it is, invest it into the growth of your business. Guys, I hope this episode, this baby burping episode provided maybe just a teensy bit of insight for you guys who may be feeling lost, confused, overwhelmed about, where you should be spending your time with your business. Just remember, in the early stages, guys, focus on what's working for you. You can ignore the rest of the noise, and then slowly as you get better and more efficient, you can start to dabble in some of those other areas and then outsource and dabble and outsource, and you'll find yourselves in a really good place as you stick with it and be consistent. Guys, once again, I'm Andy. You're listening to Selling on Amazon with Andy Isom. We'll see you in the next episode.